Hey, hey.
Hey.
We are in the home stretch now. And we're going to talk
2 videos left.
We're going to talk about, first, what not to do with your language of value.
Or what I like to call doing not that.
Let's do not that.
Not that, yes.
All right. So let's find out what that is.
So in the past, as we've talked to a lot of folks about this kind of stuff, inevitably the dark side of these language of value tools starts to pop its head up ever so often.
Usually there's one person who says, I really hate this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
We did a workshop at a conference, and a person came in. The very first person in the room said, oh, I hate these things. I was like, great,
oh, good,
okay.
Good. This is the perfect workshop for you.
Why are you here? Yeah. Okay,
and actually it was.
Please stay. But by the end, he was like, you know what? I think I could give this a try. But as we learned more of his story, he had a boss and colleagues in his past work life really pigeonhole him based on the results of some assessment.
And that's not the point.
Right. We do not want to use these tools as a way to be dismissive of people or as a way to limit their trajectory in the company. So when we say things like, well, you're an introvert, so you can't be in sales, like you're probably not going to be a good salesman.
Like, really?
Really?
Well, it just so happens that there's a friend of ours, Matthew Pollard. He actually wrote an entire book about how introverts are some of the best salespeople.
Yeah, it's called The Introvert's Edge.
Yeah. And so it's not about limiting to function. It's about the flavor that you bring. It's about your preferences and how that you go about things.
Right. So an extroverted salesperson might be really good at like working the room and wooing and telling stories, but an introverted salesperson might bring more listening to their craft. And they might gain an entirely different kind of clientele that hate the typical salesperson who just likes to tell a bunch of stories, which are both, caricatures. So not to do what we're not doing here. Yeah. But instead of saying like, well, only this type of person can be in this role and you're not that type of person, it's actually seeing value in the person and giving them space to bring their own intelligence to whatever the task at hand is.
Right. And that's the thing that we don't want people to just step away with. It's not a way to categorize, oh, now I know exactly what you are.
Now I know what slot to fit you in as your robot team member.
I know exactly how to push your buttons to get you to do what I want.
That's scary, babe.
It's supposed to be scary.
That's why it's called dumb. A language of value and not a language of limitation.
Oh, that's good, isn't it? Yeah.
So you can use these as a way to be dismissive of people, and not just in terms of the roles that they use. So, for example, Ben and I, we have the same Myers-Briggs type until we get to that last
the last one
category. And so he is P for perceiving, and I am J for judging. And so people who are J really want to have a lot of structure, and they want to have a plan. So they plan things out ahead of time, and then they really would like things to go that way. And sometimes life doesn't. But sometimes
that's where I come in.
You have a partner who doesn't like to go according to plan, and that's where he comes in, right? So if I am talking to him about, like, this is what we decided we were going to do, and I'm feeling frustrated that now we're doing this other thing, then if he answers me by saying, God, you're such a J, it's really annoying.
Would you just let go of the plan already?
Oh
Please, like, oh my gosh.
Then that is using this preference that I've shared with you, and I'm coming to you saying, like, this is something that's bothering me based on my preferences, and you're saying like, ugh, I hate J's. J's are so
also
hard.
Totally completely misusing the Valley Girl accent too.
I wasn't trying to use a Valley Girl accent. Okay, that was
my
Okay, well.
But there's also that. You really need to use the Valley Girl accent in the right place at the right time. Just saying, it's a thing.
Okay, so this is a language of value. So if you are using it to dehumanize or devalue or dismiss or in any way kind of pigeonhole and limit the person that you're speaking to, you are using it wrong.
That's not the point.
You're probably going to do some damage. You're probably going to start to erode trust in your team because someone has shared something about themselves with you and you're weaponizing it. Instead of honoring them, you are using it to manipulate and make them feel small and say, like, it's really not worth listening to you because of that. And we see it all the time.
Yeah. And so what we want to do is make sure that this is it opens up conversation and not closes it.
Right.
You know, and people act outside of their types all the time too. You know,
Right.
so just because someone is an ENFP or an INTJ or insert whatever alphabet soup you want to on this, you know, it doesn't mean that everyone's going to follow all the rules. This is not about being some kind of weird, you know, templated clone. You know, it's not about that. You know, it's about being and understanding more about yourself, more about your other folks, so you can bring a new richness into the relationship and not a new level of manipulation.
Yes. Please use this tool for good.
Yes, and not evil.
With great knowledge comes great responsibility.
Close. Great power.
Oh, power.
Great
With
power
great
comes
power.
great responsibility. Thank you, Uncle Ben.
I'm not nerdy enough.
So,
I'm nerdy by proxy. Okay.
so
Anyway.
now you know that this is about not that, right? And in the next video, we're going to talk about what to do to change your culture for the better.